Motown last night. Lions and Cowboys. It was a playoff game between these two teams and those two quarterbacks. And it was a night of huge plays. And Dan, the Detroit defense made the first one.
Yeah, the story was third down for their defense. They put both backers up inside the A-gaps on top of the center. Jack Campbell gets through the tailback. And then this looks like a safety to me. Break for Dallas, but a great start for Detroit's defense.
Lions had 5 sacks. They also had Amon-Ra St. Brown. How about the toughness, Bart? The guy we thought he'd be out for weeks.
He's the heart and soul of this team. They go as he goes.
He played so well last night, and then 2 plays later, Lewis, there's your guy, Jahmyr Gibbs.
I mean, he's the most explosive running back in the NFL right now. He can do it all. Maybe the most explosive weapon on the offensive side of the ball.
The next huge play comes midway through the second quarter, Peter. This is on a 3rd and forever, and here comes the peanut punch.
Ferguson has been Johnny on the spot for the Cowboys, but this one right here was an incredible play by Jack Campbell. Look at this. The concentration knocks it out. Ferguson, more fumbles than 50-yard games this season. That's not going to cut it.
Recovered by Brian Branch, and now we're going the other way off the turnover. Harry, what do you see on this Montgomery touchdown?
I see 3 wide receivers in which the game matters to them. Let me block for my guy when he has the football. It doesn't matter if it's a running back, tight end, or another wide receiver. Get your blocks downfield because it turns into explosive touchdown.
Lions up 20-9 at the half. And then, Dan, this is the first play of the third quarter.
It's outstanding awareness by Detroit's defense of understanding when they put George, the Dallas Cowboys Pickens, by himself, and they have 4 people away. They love to run a solo route. Oftentimes it's the slant. Robertson sits there. He understands he's got safety help over the top, gets the left hand there, ball pops up in the air, and then the Detroit Lions take it. Gibbs out to the flat, ball fake, attracts attention. Tesla replaces in the back corner.
Again, Tesla is electric. They capitalize on both turnovers and turn them both into touchdowns. Then this is a tough moment. Lewis, we see C.D. Lamb go down, head hits the turf.
Yeah, he was absolutely just torturing the Lions secondary up until this point, and the game really changed at this point. And that, because really, the story became about George Pickens after this injury occurred.
Yep. C.D. Lamb had 6 catches, 121 yards, but he would leave there and not come back. Javonte Williams does take it in, so it's 27-16. And then, Dan, here come the Cowboys. We're early in the fourth quarter, and Ryan Flournoy is wide open.
Yeah, one of the things that the Lions did so well was never exposing the corners one-on-one. The safety should have been over the top. He doesn't get there. Credit Dak and Flournoy to find that broken coverage, get a touchdown.
They go for 2 and get it, but back the other way. Jamison Williams was so good.
Yeah, I love the bunch, and I love the fact that the story of the night is J-Mo running away, run away, run away, run away. Those crossing routes against either zone or man coverage. And credit Jared Goff. He stood in there and made a great throw.
Their home run hitters hit home runs. That was Williams, and here's Gibbs.
Look at the jump cut quickness and then the acceleration vertical. I mean, the guy is literally cut out of central casting when you're talking about a do-it-all back.
Now we're going the other way. Cowboys on a 3rd and 3, down by 10. They're going to call this, Bart, offensive pass interference.
Listen, I'm from the D, but I got to say this is a bad call. These are 2 guys that's fighting, hand fighting a little bit, arm over. Ferguson gets inside. I think it's a bad call. Pivotal point.
Cowboys wind up kicking a field goal. It's a 7-point game, but they can't get the stop when they need it. There's that guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Soft coverage. What are we doing as a DB? Challenge the receiver.
He had 6 catches, 92 yards. He's the hero of the day, playing hurt as he was, but the star of the night is Gibbs.
I mean, look at the blocking here. I mean, this one, look, he's able to kind of like downshift it, put it back in the first gear, and just kind of put it in neutral and cruise into the end zone.
With that, Jahmyr Gibbs ties Barry Sanders for most touchdowns in a player's first 3 seasons. So he was spectacular, and Williams was spectacular, and the defense made the plays when they needed. And in a game that we said all week long was a playoff game, both teams absolutely had to have it. It was the Lions who do, and because they looked to you, Harry, like they were the team that needed it more.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what happened last night. They played like the team that was starving, was hungry, had desperation, and we seen everyone offensively, defensively, special teams go out there and play with urgency. They played with physicality. Look at the receivers blocking in the run game for their running back, David Montgomery. It matters to them. They knew the importance of this ball game. They were upset that they lost on Thanksgiving at home to a divisional rival, but they came back yesterday on Thursday Night Football and said, nah, we got this. We got to make up for what we didn't do last week.
I feel like you said Wednesday that Dan Campbell must have loved this entire week of the whole world burying them for the performance on Thanksgiving.
Crowning the Cowboys, crowning the Packers, crowning the Bears, and the Lions are like, wait, we still have a home game to play, and we're going to take care of business. Look, they were up 27-9. Cowboys come roaring back. It's 30-27, and Jared Goff said, I got us. Let's go. Yeah. And they lead him on another touchdown drive. That was huge. I think we learned a lot about the Lions. A lot of people were ready to bury the Lions after Thanksgiving. I thought they showed a lot of grit, and that's been their key word all season long.
To your point, every time the Dallas Cowboys tried to answer, the Detroit Lions came down and they answered.
Yeah.
Every single time they answered the bell. When they needed to go down and have a drive and score a touchdown or get points, they did it every single time last night.
And part of that is credit to them, and another part of it is a Cowboys defense that had looked so much better the last few weeks was exposed. Lewis, you were telling me in our meeting this morning, some of the things that had been their problems really through most of the season were exposed last night.
Yeah, communication errors in the back end, and then really a talent deficiency in the back end in particular on the corners. You saw it. They couldn't play tight man coverage. When they backed off, their ability to close the distance, close the cushion, make plays on the football is just not there. And then the tackling after the catch was maybe the thing that was really exposed last night. Detroit just played at another level. They played at another level from a speed perspective, from an intensity perspective, from a want-to perspective. And those are the things, like really in the month of November and December, those are things you can't correct. There's no more trade deadlines. There aren't no guys out there on the waiver wire for you anymore. And right now, Dallas has to sit with what they have, and it's just not good enough on that side of the football.
There's a couple plays that, to Lewis's point, stand out to me, and it's really like the final three almost offensive plays for the Detroit Lions. Harry, to your point, the Cowboys score, and the Lions are like, okay, how do we get Amon-Ra St. Brown the ball, and how do we get Jahmyr Gibbs some runs? If you go to the second to last touchdown that Jahmyr Gibbs has, it's a very basic concept from the Lions, and if you draw a line from the football, there's 7 Cowboys on one side, 4 on the other, and they both part like the Red Sea. It's a walk-in touchdown for Jahmyr. Then the play-action pass to Amon-Ra, that Bart, you're like, what are you doing? Yeah. Because I know if I put 6 offensive linemen on the field, the Cowboys are going to line up in one coverage. Single high safety. Cool. I'm going to go play-action, hit the in route, and then Gibbs' his final touchdown, he's going to score from 1,000 yards out, let alone 8.
How they're going to respond to that? If you have a receiver in a tight coverage with that, you're going to get outside leverage. Understand that the middle of the field is wide open. You got guys walked up. So I think the Dallas Cowboys weren't as prepared as they needed 100%. To, and they were used to getting interior pressure. And we didn't hear the name Quentin Williams a lot last night. And I think that's a credit to Dan Campbell and taking away what Dallas does well.
Yep. Credit where it's due. Lions get a win they desperately need, and they sort of have life. The Cowboys now, we can put it up there. It's a pretty stark number. A16.
Walk in the mile.
Cindy, if you can.
A16.
Our analytics now give you A16 is not a pretty picture.
Yeah, if you get A16 called on you, that's not good.
Like that. 8%.
Yes. A16 says the Cowboys now have a name. And last night was their shot. Right, they put themselves with some of the losses, and you guys talked about it earlier, losses against Arizona and things like that earlier in the season, put them in a position where they had to be perfect, and last night they certainly weren't. What did you see from the Cowboys' offense? We figured maybe in a shootout, Cowboys maybe have an advantage because they're so high-flying. Losing CD obviously hurts. What did you see from their offense?
I thought it was the most disappointing performance by the offense and Brian Schottenheimer all season long. I thought, 1, way too conservative down in the red zone early on in the games. That's why the field goals were a part of it. 2, completely outcoached by Kelvin Shepard. And the reality was, we've talked about Gibbs and Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams. Dan Campbell did a good job of featuring those guys and getting them open. If you go to what Detroit did to the stars of Dallas and the CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens superstar receivers, it was, we're not going to let you beat us. They never gave them one-on-ones early on in the game. And then you go to the third downs, which were going to be big. Both backers up in the A-gaps. They're creating one-on-ones for the offensive tackles. And then the secondary just sat at the sticks on this situation. 5 guys across, everybody playing with vision, knowing that somebody was going to win in their one-on-one pass rush. Ball would have to come out of the quarterback's hands, and then look at all the bodies breaking on the throw. You go to a little bit later down, third down in the red zone. Who do we have to stop? 1, we're going to create offensive tackles and one-on-ones for our pass rushers. Where's George Pickens? Where's CeeDee Lamb? We're going to double team those guys. Somebody else is going to have to beat us. You get the safety over the top, then the one-on-one pass rush has to win. Somebody has to win. Both those guys for the defensive Detroit Lions do. CeeDee Lamb's hurt. George Pickens, top of the screen. Who do you want not let beat you? George Pickens. They double team George Pickens with the safety. Everybody else is singled up. Nobody else wins. It becomes a bang-bang play. Anzalone had a great game, did a great job. So I just think Kelvin Shepard took the blueprint of what he did against Cincinnati to those 2 star receivers and said, those 2 guys who have beaten everybody in the last 5, 6, 7 weeks, they're not going to beat us. And Brian Schottenheimer never really adjusted in the right way.
Really quick, that's why I think for Schotty as a head coach and a play caller, you should have been alerted for it, right? Because you had that Cincinnati tape and what Kelvin Shepard was able to do with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you had to anticipate that was going to happen.
Well, they couldn't run the football.
With a 1A and 1B.
But that was a big part of it. Couldn't run the ball, and then no one else really stepped up.
Greeny, I would add that maybe we look at this whole last few weeks, and maybe we're putting lipstick on a pig a little bit here because we got excited. I think we all jumped on board, at least to some point, about Dallas and what it possibly could be. Detroit's been the better team all season. Detroit beat them yesterday, and here's the fact of the matter. The calls that were going their way against the Chiefs, the fumble recoveries that were happening against the Eagles and the Chiefs, they got terrible calls against them last week, and special teams failed them in another spot.
The future is bright for the Dallas Cowboys. It's just too little too late. But history's written by the winners. And the reality of it is, did Shepard really shut down their offense, or did CeeDee Lamb get injured? Because he was having himself a day at 121. But that's what I'm saying. So, like, it's the turnovers, but you can't have in big games. It's turnovers and lose possessions. And you can't be 1 for 3 in the red zone. This is a totally different narrative.
But they had 9 points through 35 minutes.
I understand that, but it's the difference in the red zone.
Yes.
That's the difference. And the difference is CeeDee Lamb got hurt. This game was going to be more competitive.
But to push back, though, the red zone woes is partly because of Kelvin Shepard and what he designed in the red zone, though.
There's no question about that. But see, look, as we know, all right, so there's a lot of push-pull here, right? So when they got in the red zone, all right, they did a nice job of playing combo coverages on their guys in the back end, which we always do when you get down in there. And it's tough, right? It's tough throwing the football down there. You would like to be able to run the football because when you throw it, the windows are tight, and it's not a whole lot of room to cover. And then what else happened? Dak was getting hit a ton. Why is that? There isn't a whole lot you can do when your tackle is getting worked by Aiden Hutchinson.
Correct.
I don't care. What do you want him to do? What do you want Dak to do? And look, and when CD got hurt, look, DJ Reed was like, thank you.
Right.
Thank you for getting 88 up out of here.
He was praying.
You know what I'm saying? Because that was a huge turning point.
So it sounds like what we're saying is it was a little bit of the Lions winning it and a little bit of the Cowboys not winning it. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a little bit of both
the
of
Lions.
those.
I mean, if I go to the Lions defense, I go, Anzalone was outstanding. Campbell was outstanding. Hutch was outstanding.
Yeah.
Did we say anybody's name for the Cowboys defense?
No, and that was what Lewis's point was to start the show. It's like, that was the stuff that we were worried about the first half of the season. And we got Quinn and we got Logan and we got excited, but it all showed up last night.
There's only so many things you can do to kind of like really kind of cover up what Dallas doesn't have in the secondary. But I will say this too. Coaching does matter. Yeah. And Kelvin Shepard should be getting some interviews in this head coaching cycle.
100%.
Okay, so what he did is spectacular.
Yeah, the final word is this. The difference in this game was Dan Campbell and Kelvin Shepard outcoached Matt Eberflus and Brian Schottenheimer. The stars for the Lions showed up, all of them, and only a couple of them for the Cowboys.
Are we saying this if we get more effort from George Pickens?